Good evening. My name is PJ Capozzi, Superintendent of Schools for Meridian CUSD 223. My intent today is to give you a preview of the May board meeting. We have lots of things on the agenda tonight, many of which we've been discussing for several months. Just want to highlight them quickly, let the community know what's taking place within our schools. We will be approving several larger purchases that we've been planning on for the past several months, inclusive of getting a new assessment system in place. The purpose of doing this is to get data that we believe will help us better impact the instruction for students, and data that we can trust and track longitudinally. As you know, in the state of Illinois, there's been mass transition with assessment. We feel that this, by going with the Renaissance Learning, which is the assessment is called STAR 360, we can provide an assessment that not only tests kids, but also provides resources so we can meet kids where they're at and help move them forward. An additional contract that will be approved today is for Crisis Go, which is an app that will help us take our emergency management plans from binders to web-based apps, be better for communicating with parents, and also help us be safe in the event of a crisis or emergency. We'll also be approving annually. We have for 3 years now had an intergovernmental agreement with Oregon as we share services in the technology department. This will be the board meeting where we approve that contract as well. We'll also be doing some things that are procedural. Annually we pass prevailing wage agreement, which essentially says that if we don't use union, we will either use union workers or we will pay as if we're using union workers for major projects. This is something that is we're compelled to do by state law, but the board will also vote, I assume, to support that tonight. One thing which got a lot of attention when we released the agenda, which I want to address, is during my report we'll talk about transgender bathrooms. As many of you may or may not know, there is a potential federal decree on how schools should react in terms of having transgender bathrooms. Once that is official at the federal level, it will trickle down to state level policymakers, and then obviously it'll impact local schools. The intent of putting on the agenda is just to simply explain that publicly and to let people know that they need to be informed as the discussion comes closer to impact local schools. Other things happening politically that directly impact our schools are that there are several different school funding bills on the table right now. Ideally, we will have a resolution here shortly so that we can construct the most accurate possible budget for FY17. Every day it seems like a different bill or combination of bills has momentum. So our role as a school district right now is just to sit back, watch, advocate on behalf of our district to our representatives, and hope a decision is made that is in the best interest of all students of the state, but particularly our job is to advocate for our kids. There are a few other major topics of conversation which we'll bring up today. One is that we are entering into a health insurance cooperative. 3 years ago, when I entered the district, we had extensive conversations with the association to identify whether we're doing everything we could to make our insurance and healthcare benefit costs as limited as possible. So how could we provide the same type of benefits and decrease cost, therefore saving the district money and impacting everyone within the district favorably? As we went through a shopping process with vendors, we found that we were already doing our due diligence and at a reasonable place. That still did not solve the problem that we had before us in trying to reduce our expenditures. So we've been working with several other area districts. Some have come in, some have come out. Currently we're at 7. We may go up to 9 this year in forming a rural insurance cooperative pool. What we have found is that by combining and sharing risk and having a larger number, we will not only save money in the first year, but we will have less volatile increases. It has been pretty regular for us to have an 8 to 10% increase over each of the last 5 years in our healthcare costs. This will, like I said before, drop our costs for next year, but also keep us stable as we move forward. Additional items for approval is we will lock in our energy rates for the FY18 through FY20 school years, working through Rock River Energy Systems and agreeing to a contract with Constellation. One of the major talking points from tonight will be approval of school handbooks. We do this each May. There is little of consequence that has changed. What we focused on this year was really examining board policy, examining changes at the state level, and ensuring that our handbooks reflected that, making sure there was alignment. We've talked a lot in these updates about improving our systems, and that's just one component of it. There'll also be a minor tweak to the athletic eligibility formula that we use. What we found last year is in an attempt to make the formula more rigorous, we may have jumped too far to one direction. And so where we're going to land with the recommendation for where we land is that the formula that we use to determine eligibility, particularly at the semester, will be a little bit more rigorous than it was 2 years ago, but walk it back from this year as we, through trial and error, found that the intent of what we tried to change last year did not equal its impact. The last thing that we'll talk about tonight is over the past 2 weeks, the board underwent a self-evaluation with the support of the Illinois Association of School Boards. What this means is that the board took a comprehensive survey, which the Association of School Boards then broke down the data and engaged and led and facilitated a conversation as to which areas the board feels it can best improve. The two areas that we are still searching for improvement in, or our biggest areas for potential growth, existed in community engagement. This is particular to the boards. The board is going to be continuing to evaluate their practice and figure out how they can best engage and connect with the community. And second is accountability. In the past few years, there's been a big emphasis on data and exploring our data and talking about things. What we have discovered is that potentially we have so many data points, it's hard to figure out what is truly important to our district. So over the summer, we're going to work to create a data dashboard of approximately 6 data points that we find critically important that we can track monthly at the board level to make sure that we're holding ourselves to the highest standards of performance possible. As always, thank you for taking the time to listen to this, and feel free to contact me either via cell phone or via email with any questions. Thank you, and make it a great day.